USS Newport News CA-148. The second USS Newport News CA-148 was a Des Moines-class heavy cruiser in the United States Navy. Newport News was laid down 1 November 1945, launched on 6 March 1948 by Newport News Shipbuilding and Dry Dock Company, Newport News, Virginia. The vessel was sponsored by Mrs. Homer L. Ferguson. Upon commissioning on 29 January 1949, Captain Roland N. Smoot commanding. She was the first fully air-conditioned surface ship in the United States Navy, and the last of her age, as well as the last all-gun heavy cruiser in commission in U.S. naval history. 1950–1962. In addition to annual deployments to the Mediterranean from 1950 to 1961 for duty with the Sixth Fleet, she participated in major fleet exercises and midshipman training cruises in the Caribbean and Western Atlantic. On 4 January 1956, the ship steamed for a tour of duty in the Mediterranean as flagship of Vice Admiral Ralph A. Austy, Commander Sixth Fleet. Vice Admiral Austy was relieved on board by Vice Admiral Harry Donald Felt on 12 April in Barcelona, Spain. Commander Sixth Fleet transferred his flag to USS Salem on 21 May at Gibraltar. The ship returned to Norfolk, Virginia on 29 May 1956. The ship visited the city of Newport News over the 4th of July holiday. During the trip from Norfolk to Newport News, 250 dependents took part in the first dependents' cruise in the ship's history. From 16 July to 24 August, she participated in Midshipman Cruise Charlie as flagship of Commander Cruiser Division TWO. Visits were made at New Orleans, Louisiana, Balboa Canal Zone, and Guantanamo Bay. While transiting the Panama Canal, Rear Admiral Ira H. Non-relieved Rear Admiral E. R. McLean, Jr. as Commander Cruiser Division TWO. On 19 September she entered the Norfolk Naval Shipyard for overhaul, remaining at Norfolk through December 1956. Commander Cruiser Division TWO transferred to USS Des Moines on 20 September and his staff returned aboard on 1 November 1956. In early September 1957, Newport News was on station in the eastern Mediterranean in preparation for any contingency during the Syrian crisis. In March 1960, while steaming 75 miles northeast of Sicily, Newport News was ordered to proceed to Agadir, Morocco, to render assistance to the survivors of that earthquake-shattered city. She steamed 1225 miles in 40.5 hours at an average speed of 31 knots, arriving on 3 March to provide medical and material aid. With the assassination of General Rafael Trujillo and the resulting instability in Santo Domingo, Newport News was underway on short notice on 4 June 1961 and proceeded to a station in international waters off the Dominican Republic to await further orders. When the crisis terminated, the ship conducted training exercises off Puerto Rico before returning to Norfolk. Newport News berthing and communications facilities were modified in the winter of 1962 to accommodate Commander United States Second Fleet and his staff. In August 1962, she participated in NATO exercise Riptide Roman III and, upon the end of the exercise, made a month-long tour of northern European ports as flagship of Comstrict Effelti Lant, the NATO role of Commander Second Fleet. Within a month after return to Norfolk, Newport News was underway on 22 October as the flagship of the Atlantic Fleet for the Cuban Missile Crisis, with USS Leary as her destroyer escort. The two ships stopped the Soviet vessel Labansk and ordered her away from Cuban waters. For the next month, acting as flagship for Comsecond Effelti, Newport News was on station northeast of Cuba. When the Soviet MRBMs were dismantled and removed from Cuba, Newport News assisted in the missile count. Upon cancellation of the quarantine, she returned to her home port of Norfolk the day before Thanksgiving. 1963–1974. Modifications. During her career, Newport News underwent several refits which changed her appearance somewhat and increased her capabilities. During the mid-1950s, her forward bridge was enclosed on both levels with roofs and glass windows, creating a navigation bridge above and a flag bridge below. Later in the 1950s, new and more capable radars for navigation and gunnery were fitted. The biggest change for her came in 1962, when a large deck house was added midships, which gave her enhanced flagship accommodation and office spaces. This would result in her becoming the United States' Second Fleet flagship for most of the rest of her career, save for her gunfire support stints during the Vietnam War. Decommissioning. Commissioning. Newport News was decommissioned on 27 June 1975 and stricken from the Naval Vessel Register on 31 July 1978. She spent her twilight years as a member of the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard's mothball fleet and was sold for scrap in New Orleans, Louisiana on 25 February 1993. A museum dedicated to Newport News and her crew is maintained in USS Salem in Quincy, Massachusetts. Gallery. USS Newport News Life Cycle. Awards.